Welcome, everyone. I'm so very excited to be here. I'm wanting to introduce something that is extremely special to me and which I believe will be of incredible benefit to you if it feels good, if it feels aligned. So, let me share with you who I am if you don't know. I am Kerry. I am a holistic psychologist, which means that I focus on body, mind, and spirit. And I support women who have a deep, heartfelt calling to do more, to show up in a bigger way in the world. I support them to do that without burning out. So rather to find more joy, ease, and flow, and just to show up in their fullest potential. I meet a lot of women who have such a strong sense of like the soul stirring within, and yet they feel so lost and desperate and stuck in living small, in being tired, in constantly facing obstacles. And we work through what's holding them back and how to allow that to just flow. So the reason I do this is because of my own journey. I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue syndrome in 2013, although I'd had years of burnout before that. And as a result of my journey, I feel like I've been truly blessed by what I have in my life. That's actually, in a weird kind of way, come through that. I'm going to explain that in a little bit more depth just now, but let me start with where I was. Some of you may have heard the story already. So it was 2015, and it was a rather cold winter's day, I remember, because I was lying on a dermatologist's bed. And I just had one of those silly little gowns on, those ones, which I don't know why I was wearing when he was taking a mole out of my leg. But anyway, I'm not going to go there. But he was taking a mole out of my leg. He was incising, doing an incision and removing a mole that he felt was suspect. And in the midst of all of this and the injections, I was strangely enjoying the experience, okay? Which might sound a bit weird. But you see, for me, I was able to lie horizontal, to just be horizontal. There was no one needing me. There was nothing I needed to be doing. And for once, guilt-free, I could rest. And that's how desperate I was in those days. I went on to having to have it surgically removed in hospital by a plastic surgeon because it was actually malignant. And it was a minor, it was level 0, so it wasn't a problem. The whole thing was removed, but it meant that I needed to be in hospital for 5 blissful hours. And then I did feel guilty because I was thinking of my husband at home with the little kids. And my problem was, it wasn't so much that I wasn't supported and that I really did have to hold it all. It was my perception that I was in that place. And I battled to let go because I didn't trust I'd be okay if I did let go a little bit. So I was trying to hold everything together and felt guilty if I needed to burden others to support me. And I also needed it to all be perfect. And I was absolutely exhausted. Okay. And it was like living in this whole foggy world and boggy. I was stuck. It was hard to move. My body was heavy and tired and exhausted, and it was just, I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about. But I went from there to where I am now, and now I feel, for the most part, like a completely different person. I have let go in massive ways in my life, which I never believed I'd be able to do. And as a result, I have received an abundance of gifts. I mean, even though it was through a weird circumstance which didn't feel very good at the time, I've moved to this beautiful seaside town. I've met incredible people. I'm learning to surf. I just feel so deeply connected to the nature and the land here. I've had like the most incredible experiences just happen easily. And this is what I talk about when I mention ease, flow, and joy. So I say that I support women to receive ease, flow, and joy. Because my adrenal fatigue showed me how much my holding and not needing to be in control was actually causing me to become ill. And when I allowed myself to feel safe enough to let that go, it created massive transformational shifts that I could never have possibly even imagined. And because it was so big for me, and because it's made such a big difference in my life, it is my passion to share that with other women. And I know it's possible because I've supported other women to get there too. And this is what's so magical and incredible about this process. So this membership group has come about through that. It's come about through my own healing journey, and it's come about through my experience of working with other women. And it's focused on a couple of factors that were very important to my own healing journey. Okay, so I thought I'd introduce those today. So there's three ingredients that I feel were pivotal to my being able to move from fatigue to the place where I am now. So the first one was being able to recognize just how stressed I was. And I had, this is coming from someone who had specialized in doing lectures on stress to students. I used to lecture. And doing stress workshops. Stress. It was such a word that was thrown about. And I knew that I was someone who stressed easily, but I did not realize the extent to which my body was constantly in an activated, stressed state. And what I mean by that is that we can either go into a sympathetic, activated state, which is where you're going to feel easily irritated, wired, agitated. You're going to feel like you just want to run away. You're going to feel easily overwhelmed. And you're busy, like it's often a need to be busy and to do things and to be on top of things. The opposite of that is the dorsal vagal response, which is a kind of shutdown, freeze response. And that can be like real apathy, lack of motivation, fatigue, feeling disconnected. And that's often what many of us recognize as the fatigue. And we can go between both, and we can land up just in the fatigue. But I'm also giving you the worst case scenarios here. The fact is that most of us, many of us, particularly if you're here listening to this, spend up to about 90% of our day in one of these states. And usually it starts off being in that sort of wired state. But we think it's our norm because we've done it for so very long in our lives that we don't question it. So I didn't question the fact that I was everything was fast, and I was driven, and I was on top of things, and I was always busy, and it was hard to sit still. I didn't question that. I thought this was what made me good at what I did. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I'm saying that if it comes from a place of needing to feel okay about yourself, and if it's unconscious, it can lead to depletion. Okay. So, because what happens is when your body's in that activated, stressed state, you cannot be healing. You have to be in that what's called ventral vagal, between that sort of activated sympathetic state and this dorsal vagal aspect of the parasympathetic. You need to then be in this place where you can be relaxed, rested, connected, listening inwards to your body, listening to what you need. In this place is where we heal. And many of us don't spend much time there because we just don't know how. We don't even realize we don't spend much time there until someone actually shows us. And like I said, I was a psychologist and a body talk practitioner, and I still did not realize the full extent to how much time I spent in an activated state. And knowing that was my massive turning point, because then I could realize, okay, so something's been triggered. Something within me has been triggered that's made me feel unsafe. So I need to meet that and support myself to come back into feeling safe, because I can only heal and be rejuvenated and receive energy and be nourished when I'm in a rested state, because I'm depleting myself if I'm constantly in this place of cumulative stress. That was the first part. The second part was the awareness of masculine and feminine energy. So my first thing was, okay, so this is all the masculine energy, the doing, the striving, the being busy. So I need to go into feminine, which is more being embodied, listening to intuition, creativity. And it's not as simple as that, because like a friend of mine said to me, but Kiri, what's so wrong with being a person who's good at being in control and organizing and capable, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's about the balance, and it's about your consciousness of where it's coming from. And And because masculine energy on its own is, we need both. We need masculine and feminine. So the masculine, and we all have within us masculine and feminine, regardless of your gender identification, whether you're binary, non-binary, etc. So the masculine, the healthy masculine, brings that clarity, that direction, it gives structure. We do need these things, but it also brings stillness and presence, okay, which is actually about coming back to yourself and dropping into connecting to how am I feeling right now. And when we connect and then from that place go into action, it's a very different thing than constantly being in action without being connected and without being rooted. So the thing is, when we bring that stillness and presence in, the body calms, it feels safer, and the feminine is able to rise. The feminine energy, which is life force. Many of us have shut ourselves off from receiving life force for various reasons, because we don't trust that we will be supported by life, because we feel like we have to hold and do it all ourselves and keep it all together. So this is about receiving the fullness of life, and with that comes the abundance and the things that I was telling you about, like the joy, the ease, the flow. And it's not easy to do this, because when we've held it all together for so long, it's very hard to be someone who lets go. But bringing in that masculine presence enables the sense of safety, and then bringing in that sense of being rooted feels safer, so we can start to let go and soften in the body. The body can heal more, receive more energy. We can listen into what our needs are, and we can allow our truth to unfold. So that's the second important point. The third important point is connection. So this is connecting back to the body, connecting to the self, connecting to something greater, which in this case I talk of this as I use the ideas of the masculine and feminine energy and what it feels like to embody that in your body, to have that sense of being seen and held, being rooted, having the compassion and the nurturing of the feminine. To take connection one step further, which has been very important, is being connected within a group. Okay, so many of us, the reason we go into this activated state is because at some point in our lives we didn't feel safe. We didn't feel safe as we were authentically showing up in the world, expressing our emotions. For whatever reason, maybe it triggered people, they didn't know how to handle it, so we shut ourselves down and adapt ourselves. And then whenever we again feel like that stuff is coming up and we can't manage it, we have that stress state being activated. Now, what happens when we shut down like that is we disconnect. We disconnect from our bodies. We also disconnect from others because we don't feel that they can necessarily hold for us. We don't want to burden them. We don't want to upset them. We don't want to be rejected. So we tend to go into this self-reliant place where we shut down and hold it all together, and we disconnect from life force. We disconnect from ourselves and our bodies, and that's where we go into imbalance and then start to have symptoms showing up. So connection is it's about the connection to the self, but it's also that connection to the group. So for me, being part of a group with my mentor Juliet Haynes was massive. Being in connection through therapy and with different therapists. So what happens is that when we are with others, when we are seen by others, we can see ourselves. When we are met by others, we can meet ourselves. We exist in relationship to others. And when we can be in a space that holds us and our bodies can feel held, we can relax, we can rest, we can come home to ourselves, we can really feel what wants to come through us, what we need to heal, and we can give our bodies that rest and digest space where we can heal. Okay, so connection is vital. It's such a big part of this as well. And because this journey can be so damn lonely, and I know a lot of you know what I mean. Like on the outside you look fun, on the inside you're falling apart, and no one has the faintest clue what you're truly going through. You're now going to be with people who get it. Okay, and that is priceless. All right, I just remember feeling like there was something terribly wrong with me, and everyone else was fine, and no one got it. So it was really amazing to start connecting with people who did get it. Right, so I took all of these components and put them together to create the membership group, the Rooted membership group, because I believe that it's a very powerful place to continue this or to start the process of connecting back to the self, to balancing masculine and feminine energy, to recognizing activation, to being able to meet it and give yourself the tools you need to calm the nervous system so it can heal. And I'm not saying that being part of this group is going to bring about change straight away. It's a process, but that's also why it's a group that you can stay in for as long or as little as you need. And what's beautiful about group energy is that when we do a healing process with others, with the same intention, the same focus, the shifts that happen dramatically faster and more powerfully, because it's something about that accumulated energy that comes together. It really is magic. And that is why I've been feeling called for a long time to put this group together, because I love my one-on-one coaching. But I also find that the women who do that are still kind of self-reliant and doing the journey on their own, even though I'm walking it with them. And then afterwards, they're on their own again. So this is also, I've encouraged a lot of those who've done the coaching with me to continue in this way, to kind of be supported, to live this life in this different way that isn't supported by our society. Okay. So what does this group mean? What does it do? The group itself is going to consist of 4 aspects. Every first Wednesday of the month, there'll be a facilitation, like a coaching session, where I'm going to share aspects of what I call the 5 stages of transformation. So it's moving from fatigue to flow, overwhelm to ease, being stuck to really stepping into your truth. There's 5 phases we go through. They are awareness of what in our past has contributed to how we are stuck now in our present, and seeing that in our behaviors so that we can then start to shift those. It's then connection, connection to self, connection to inner child, connection to something greater, to feel safe in the body, to connect back to your own needs. Releasing, so it's about how trauma and stress impacts the body. It's about resetting cumulative stress, and releasing those old patterns that no longer serve us. Receiving is about being able to meet our own needs, because when we can receive and meet our own needs, we are more open to receiving from others, from outside, from the world, from life, receiving energy, receiving nourishment and flow. Many of the women I work with really, really battle to receive. It's all about giving. And this is a space to receive. It's creating a space where it's going to feel safe to receive. And then finally, the final phase is the flow phase, which is where this kind of ease starts to come in, where what you need shows up. So instead of so part of the receive phase is also intuition, because we intuitively tune into what it is we need to receive. And that's very tied to connection, because when we're connected, we're more intuitive. And then in the flow stage, that starts to show up just easily. Things start to flow. And so I want to really just teach these, but also not just teach them, help people to embody them and actually feel them in their bodies. I'll explain that a bit now later. So the first part of the session is going to look at, the first coaching session is going to be focused on one of those themes each month. And the connection phase is going to be run over 2 months, because it's quite a foundational part of this. And each phase so after 6 months, I'll finish those phases and then we'll start again, but I'm never going to repeat what I did the time before, because there's so many different layers to these phases. So those will be done on Zoom, and they will also be recorded, and the replay will be available in the library in the group. The second aspect is a group body talk session, where we balance body and mind, the whole body-mind complex, to support the self-healing capacity. The third week, there'll be a coaching call where I'll answer any questions that have come up and support any women who want to be supported with various elements. So those are the aspects that will happen every month. And there'll be, of course, the actual community part of it, where women can meet each other, can ask questions, can celebrate themselves, be acknowledged, etc., which is just so important. So let me explain to you what the heck an embodied practice is. We talk about a lot of stuff. We think about it, but we don't feel it. So even if I say to you, I want you to relax and let go, it's a concept. But if I say to you now, I'd like you to think of holding a whole lot of different balls up in the air. all the balls that you're always holding. Your family, your work, and needing to provide in different ways. Maybe you're needed by older parents. Perhaps you have children or a partner that needs you. Just needing to remember the small things that keep the day going or that hold your family together. All these things that you're holding all the time. And God forbid you drop one of those balls. It feels really scary to do that. And if you have to now just drop into your body and feel what it feels like to hold all of that, what you might notice is there's some contraction in your body. Perhaps you have tension in your jaw. Maybe there's a feeling of suppression or tightness in the throat. I bet you there's a feeling of shouldering stuff, and the shoulders are maybe a little bit high and hunched. Maybe you feel pins and needles, butterflies in your belly. And if you notice even more, you might notice that you're pulling up slightly and pushing forward in your body. Okay, so these are the states that we will often find ourselves in without even realizing it. And if you don't recognize these things, that's okay. It can take a long time to really connect to the body and be truly aware of how we're holding ourselves and what we're feeling. And then I'd like you to imagine that you lie down onto your bed at the end of the day and you just flop down. And all those balls don't matter. Someone else is holding them. Someone else has got them. And the bed is supporting your weight. And you just release and let go. And you feel that heaviness sinking into your body as you feel your spine on the mattress being held, all your weight being supported. There's no guilt or shame about being held, about letting go. And notice in your body how you may have softened somewhat in the body. Notice the shift that might happen if you're allowing yourself to let go in that way. And perhaps you might notice how it enables you to rest into the back of your body and drop down. This is the state that we want to be in for healing to take place. And this is the state we need to be in to listen to our bodies, to receive our inner wisdom and our inner medicine. And it can be really hard to get here on your own. It can be really hard when you still feel like you're holding everything and need to do it all yourself. And that is why support can be so, so powerful and beautiful. So I hope you've got some kind of an idea of the different feelings in your body. And the embodied practices that I do are going to support you to really rewire your body to have a whole new default. So it's not in holding all the time, but it more easily and readily is in this rested state, this rooted state, so that you go forward from there. Okay. So that's the gist of it. If there's any questions at all about this, let me know. And in the meantime, I'm going to answer two questions that always come up. The one is it worth the money, or it just feels like a bit too much? So I want you to ask yourself how much money you spend on doctors, medication, supplements, health food, etc., etc. And I'm not saying that you're going to need to stop those, or that I want you to stop them by any means. But a lot of time we waste a lot of money kind of throwing it, or like, I like to say it's like we throw spaghetti at the wall and hope some of it sticks. By becoming more centered within yourself and listening to what you need and really becoming resonant with your intuition, you will start spending your money more wisely, saving money, and actually only spending money on what you actually need in your life. And I can't tell you how many supplements I went from taking to so much less. You'll find that you will attract just the right doctor or just the right person into your life who can support you so that you can heal faster. So in the long run, this is something that could actually, well, save you money. The other thing about money, which is just it's energy. And when we invest in ourselves, which many of us women seldom do because we're always investing in everyone else around us, particularly if you're mothers or children who have different needs. When we invest in ourselves, firstly, we have so much more to give everyone else around us. And secondly, when we invest in ourselves, we receive more. So remember I spoke to you about when we meet our own needs, we start to have our needs met, we start to be able to receive more. And I have seen this countless times in my life when I've been brave enough to spend money and invest in a course or a membership, where literally within the next couple of days, that money comes to me in some form or another. So this is a lot about feminine energy that I'm talking about, because the masculine is around scarcity and urgency, which is what makes us strive and push and feel fear, which is what makes us have all these coping mechanisms in place. So a lot of what I teach is about being able to receive more of this abundance by tuning into the feminine energy. And the same goes for time. Will you have enough time for this? So time, you can look at it as linear, which is scarcity. It's an end, a beginning and an end. Or feminine, which is cyclical. And everything is actually cyclical if you think about it. Day and night, seasons, the lunar cycles, the months. We're always going in cycles. And time, the feminine time is actually, there's another word for it, is kairos. It's around spaciousness. And just like I said to you, my perception was that I was being unsupported, and I've started to just have a completely different perception in life. So I can still be in a hectic situation, but I now perceive that I'm supported. So instead of being depleted by it or going into overwhelm, I experience it a lot differently. In the same way, I've begun to perceive time very differently. And many of the women that I've worked with have had this experience where we start to have more spaciousness. It's the same 24 hours in a day, but we experience it with more spaciousness. That's something else that I teach. And in the flow session, I will also be looking at like how to work with natural cycles and rhythms. So for instance, new moons are great for new beginnings. So if you're feeling called to join this is a really wonderful time to set an intention and join this group and to create powerful forward movement from this place. So that's something else I share about time. But just saying that it's not too much of a time commitment. It's essentially about 6 hours a month if you do everything, but you don't have to do everything. Even if you just show up or watch the replay for the facilitation session, that's going to give you a lot already. And just by being part of that energy, I can't tell you what you will begin to receive just by being part of that energy. Okay, so those are two questions that often come up. I'm open to hearing any questions you might have about this. If you're feeling a little bit like you're on the fence, you want to join, it resonates, but you're not so sure, please message me, let's chat. I'm so passionate about what I do because it's just made such a difference for me. And so I just want everyone to do this because I can't wait to share and hold space for people to support them to come into this place. And I can't do it for you. I know I can't, but I do know that if you feel called to this place, then honor that, because that's your soul. That's your soul speaking to you, and you're ready for this. And I'd be really delighted to be able to support you on this journey along with other women in the space. There's already some beautiful, beautiful people who've joined, and I'm so excited. And yeah, even if you feel scared but still feel called, that's normal, because when we want to change our old ways, the ego starts to kick up a fuss because it's scared. So that's all right. It's all right to be scared and just still do it. So there you go. I just, no matter what you decide, I'm really grateful that you have heard what I've had to share, because maybe that's just this planting a seed that you needed to know, and that's the start. And if you do choose to join it, that would be amazing to see you there. So just take care and keep well and go gently.